Making sure that you have sufficient savings to see you through your retirement years is a daunting challenge that requires investment insight, discipline, and a long-term plan that evolves over time as an investor gets older. A target date fund overcomes all of these challenges. Firstly, it's appropriate because it has a carefully designed investment strategy called a glide path that evolves over time to reflect the changing needs of the investor as they move through life. Secondly, it's reliable because it's professionally managed by an experienced investment team. And finally, it's simple because an investor simply needs to buy a single fund without having to make any asset allocation or timing decisions for themselves, because all this is done automatically within the target date fund. The Korean target date fund is designed specifically for the unique needs of Korean investors. Fortunately, we were able to draw on the substantial experience that we have from managing the American fund's target date service in the US. However, Korean investors are different from American investors in a number of important ways, and we had to factor this into the design. Korean investors generally start retirement saving slightly later than Americans, and they retire earlier. Life expectancy in Korea is slightly lower than the US, although it is increasing quickly. Korean investors generally have slightly lower risk tolerance, and Koreans generally save more when they're earning, and also require a lower replacement ratio from target date at the point of retirement because they have additional sources of savings and income during retirement. A key differentiating factor for Capital Group's target date service is our glide path in a glide path. The most important investment decision in other target date products is the allocation to equities, which can generate good long-term investment results, but with substantial risk and volatility. However, at Capital Group, we recognise that not all equities are the same. In particular, equities that pay dividends, especially those that have higher dividends or grow those dividends over time, deliver returns with a much smoother profile while still achieving much of the performance of riskier stocks that don't pay a dividend. So, early in an investor's life, we prefer to use stocks that are focused entirely on delivering growth. However, as an investor gets older, moves towards retirement and then into retirement, they become much more sensitive to volatility and significant losses, which means that the equity allocation has to reduce. So we solve this by shifting the equity strategy away from growth stocks and towards dividend-paying stocks, the glide path in a glide path. And this allows us to deliver strong investment results, but with less risk. Investors rely on target date for their retirement savings, so it's important to carefully control risk. This means that diversification is very important, and the Korea Target Date Service invests in more than 10 underlying funds, with exposure to more than 70 countries, and holding more than 1,000 individual securities. And this gives investors confidence that the Target Date Service will reliably achieve its objectives. Our target date services in both the US and Korea have performed well for several reasons. I think of this as the right ingredients used in the right recipe by the right chef. Our target date funds invest entirely in a wide range of Capital Group equity, fixed income and multi-asset funds, which have achieved very strong investment results over time, so good ingredients. Secondly, The glide path that drives the investment strategy is carefully designed and it's well seasoned. In particular, as well as adjusting the critical equity allocation over time, we also recognise that not all equities are the same. So we carefully adjust the composition of the equity portfolio. We call this the glide path in a glide path, and it's an important part of our excellent recipe. Finally, the target date service is designed and managed by oversight committees that comprise some of our most senior and experienced portfolio managers, and they're supported by a range of economists, strategists and quantitative experts. So we also have a good chef. The Korea and US target date services are very similar. Of course, there are some differences that reflect the different specific needs and profiles of Korea and US investors. However, the key components of the Korea and US services are the same. Both services invest entirely in capital group funds. Both services use the glide path in a glide path philosophy, and both are managed and overseen by a committee of senior investment professionals backed by our teams of economists, strategists and quantitative specialists.